After missing her flight, she discovered the heartwarming truth told by an incredible billionaire. Rachel rushed through the bustling airport, her heartbeat matching the chaotic cadence of travelers. She had missed her flight home, a gut-wrenching reality that twisted her stomach and weighed heavy on her heart. As a nurse and a single mother, the guilt flooded her thoughts like a relentless tide. Every moment delayed felt like a betrayal to her ailing father, who was depending on her. The fear that she might not reach him in time gripped her, leaving her staring off into the distance. Lost amidst the crowd, she paused for a moment, feeling the suffocating pressure of life closing in. The financial strains, the demands of her nursing job, and her sleepless nights as a mom all pressed against her chest like an unyielding vice. The vibrant chaos of the airport faded, replaced by the ominous feeling of impending doom. Just then, a warm voice interrupted her spiral of dread. "Hey, are you all right?" Rachel turned to find a man standing there, casually dressed but with an undeniable presence. He had kind eyes that reminded her of an old friend. She managed a weak smile, swallowing the lump in her throat. I missed my flight," she admitted, voice trembling. "I've been there," he said, sitting beside her. "I'm Jack." This billionaire, it turned out, had a way of making people feel seen. His open demeanor coaxed words out of Rachel that she hadn't intended to share. "My dad is sick, and I'm scared I won't get there in time," Rachel confessed, her voice laced with vulnerability. Jack listened intently, his eyes filled with genuine empathy. He shared his own journey, how he started with nothing but determination. "Success isn't just about wealth," he said softly. "It's measured by how we lift others and find our purpose." Around them, life buzzed on. A veteran was greeted with heartfelt thanks, a mother gently soothed her fussy baby, and laughter erupted from a group of friends reconnecting after years apart. Each small kindness began to stitch hope back into Rachel's heart like the threads of a comforting quilt, yet, doubts crept back in, threatening to unravel her momentary peace. The responsibilities of motherhood collided violently with her aspirations and fears, swirling in a tempest within her. Just as she felt ready to accept the warmth of the universe, her insecurities surged back. "Hey, listen," Jack said softly, noticing the turmoil in her eyes. "What if you could use your story to help other single parents in need? There's a way to make a difference, to empower others who feel lost just like you do." His words held a fire, igniting a flicker of determination within her. Could she redefine her narrative? Could she embody the change she wished to see? Before Rachel could fully grasp his proposition, the overhead announcement cut through her thoughts, summoning weary travelers to their gates. She felt the rush of emotions crash down again. Her heart was racing with possibilities and fears, juxtaposed like the blending of dusk and dawn. Caught between two worlds, filled with hope and uncertainty, Rachel felt torn. When the call for her flight echoed, she could either board and accept her past or choose to reshape her future, one of impact instead of isolation. Which path would she choose, and would she have the courage to embrace it? The tension hung in the air as Rachel took a deep breath, looking at Jack, feeling both exhilaration and fear. Would she step into a legacy that felt burdensome, or invest in something that could uplift her community, and herself? The answer danced just out of reach, a tantalizing mystery yet to be unraveled. The call for boarding seemed to hang in the air, a weight that pressed down hard on Rachel's shoulders. Jack's gaze held hers steady, as if inviting her to consider options that were stretching before her like an unpaved road. Would she step onto that path, where hope awaited? Or return to her comfortable, albeit frustrating, routine of chaos? Rachel's heart thumped louder, drawing a thin veil of sweat across her brow. She glanced at the group of travelers gathering at the gate, each face etched with their own worries, joys, and stories. The vibrant tapestry of life around her suddenly felt like a mirror, reflecting her own inner struggle, her own need for courage. "Rachel, life is messy for everyone," Jack said, his voice cutting through her swirling thoughts. "But maybe it's the mess that makes us who we are. It shows us our strength." His words settled softly in her mind, like a gentle breeze after a storm. As she searched for a response, Rachel contemplated the resonance of his message. Could she be a light for others while navigating her own darkness? The notion was both terrifying and invigorating. "Jack, I think I want to be a part of something bigger than myself, Rachel said, her voice steadying into newfound conviction. Hearing her own words, a flicker of heat ignited in her chest. But what if I fail? What if I can't make a difference? Failure is just a step on the road to success, he replied with encouragement. And every small step counts. Let your journey be the spark for someone else's courage. A renewed sense of purpose surged through her. Yes, she had spent far too long questioning her worth. As a mother, a woman, a nurse, wasn't it time to take charge? With every heartbeat, she felt the walls around her aspirations begin to crack, revealing the vibrant possibilities waiting just outside her reach. Then she caught a glimpse of her phone, notifications blinking like alarm bells. It was from her sister, sending a reminder about their father's condition. The reality of her father's health slapped her with the urgency of her situation. She could board the flight, back to her responsibilities and fears, or take a leap one she'd never dared before. With a deep inhale, Rachel faced Jack. What can I do? Where do I begin? Her voice held a tremor of anticipation. Start by sharing your story, Rachel. Gather other parents, create a support group. You're a nurse, for heaven's sake. You're already trained to help. Jack's enthusiasm was contagious, his belief in her palpable. You have the heart and the skills. And I'll help you get the word out. Hot tears swelled in her eyes. Here was a stranger offering not just empathy but a tangible chance to change lives, including her own. You do that? Jack smiled wide, revealing warmth that felt almost like sunlight. To make a difference? Count me in. Let us reshape some destinies together. Rachel met his gaze, seeing the sincerity flicker within. Suddenly, the chaos of the airport vanished, replaced by a world bursting with an energy she hadn't felt in years. Did she dare break free from her past and embrace the unknown? The boarding announcement echoed again through the terminal, but it felt like a whisper now, distant and fading. She took a step back, heart racing with the thrill of possibilities. Jack, she said, her voice trembling with purpose, let us do it. As a soft smile crossed his face, Rachel felt something shift within her, a firm choice igniting her spirit. But as she gazed at the busy airport around her, full of strangers yet to meet, the question lingered, would her heart be strong enough for the journey ahead, and would she truly step into her new role as a beacon of hope? Deep down, the answer shimmered just out of reach, leaving her hungry to explore the path ahead. What awaited her on the other side of this pivotal moment? The moment Rachel decided to take the leap, the world around her transformed. It was as if the bustling airport had faded, leaving only her and Jack standing on the precipice of something new and daring. She could still feel the tension in her chest, but it was now mixed with an electric thrill. All right, let us do this, she said, straightening her posture as if she were preparing to march into battle. Jack watched her, his smile unwavering. First things first, he said, his voice light yet firm. Let us get out of this airport. We can brainstorm over coffee. Rachel nodded, feeling a rush of gratitude. She didn't know where this journey would lead, but she was ready to share her story, to connect with others like her. As they walked out of the terminal, the chaos of the outside world enveloped them, honking cars, the chatter of families, the low hum of excitement in the air. The coffee shop was cozy and filled with comforting aromas. They settled at a small table by the window, and Rachel allowed herself to sink into the moment. She ordered a cappuccino, while Jack went for a black coffee, straightforward and no nonsense. They exchanged small talk, yet the gravity of their earlier conversation lingered in the air. Rachel took a deep breath, the rich scent of coffee grounding her. So, how do we start this? She considered the importance of creating a safe haven for parents who might be facing similar struggles. Jack leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table. You know, social media is your best friend. You could create a group online. Invite people to share their stories. Find a community. The thought sent a wave of warmth through her. Imagining voices joining together, lifting one another, it felt like a beautiful vision. But just as she was starting to embrace that thought, doubt seeped back in. What if nobody shows up? What if I'm just a blip in the vastness of it all? Jack shook his head. You won, TB. Every journey begins with one person taking a stand. And that's you, Rachel. You're taking that step. His words were filled with a conviction that warmed her heart, twisting it into a knot of hope mixed with nerves. They continued to brainstorm. Ideas flowed like the coffee steaming in their cups. Together, they talked about what a support group could look like, meetings, online forums, sharing resources. Rachel felt more alive than she had in years, a colorful tapestry of potential forming before her eyes. The conversation drifted, each idea igniting a spark until Jack leaned back, eyebrows raised. You know, for someone who once felt so trapped, you've got a brilliant vision. Maybe, she said, biting her lip, but I feel like I need something more. Something big, something inspiring to kick it off. Jack's eyes twinkled knowingly. What if you reached out to your local community? Maybe a local charity wants to collaborate? A school? People love stories, Rachel. Especially the ones that come from the heart. Just then, Rachel's phone pinged again. It was another message from her sister, updating her about their father's condition. The stark reality rose to the surface again, squeezing her heart. She couldn't ignore it. She was terrified at the thought of losing him. Right, what if I can't do this? Rachel's voice trembled as she stared into her coffee. Jack, sensing the shift, reached across the table. Remember, you can't change what's happening with your dad right now, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to be a light for others, people who may be facing their own difficulties. That could help you heal as well. A lump formed in Rachel's throat. She wanted to believe him. The tension buzzed in her ears, a reminder of the weight of her decision. But also a reminder of the potential. Okay then, Rachel took a deep breath, let us commit to this. As she spoke those words, a wave of determination swelled up inside her. She felt a new strength building, fueled by the hope of making a difference, not just for herself but for others who might feel just as lost. Jack's smile broadened, the air around them seemed to vibrate with possibilities. But then Rachel glanced out the window, something in the distance catching her eye. A luxury car pulled to a stop, the polished exterior gleaming in the sun. As the door opened, a man stepped out, radiating an undeniable charisma, the type of presence that made heads turn. Who is that? She blurted out, a feeling of curiosity washing over her. Looks like someone important, Jack chuckled, but Rachel felt a flicker of intrigue. Just then, the man turned in their direction, and their eyes locked for a split second. In that moment, Rachel felt something shift deep within her. But what secrets lay behind those captivating eyes? Little did she know, that encounter would lead her towards the turning point of her journey, one that may just change everything. As Rachel absorbed that instant when their eyes locked, her heart raced, a mix of curiosity and something deeper bubbling to the surface. There was a magnetic pull she couldn't explain, leaving her breathless and momentarily forgetful of her surroundings. Jack's voice faded into the background, his words replaced by the silent thumping of her heart. Earth to Rachel, Jack teased, trying to recapture her attention. Rachel blinked, shaking her head as she refocused. Sorry, I don't know why I feel this way. It's like I've known him forever or something. Jack smirked. Maybe he's your Prince Charming? She rolled her eyes but couldn't hold back a smile. Yeah, right. More like a complicated story waiting to unravel. I'm here to focus on my project, remember? Let us not get distracted. They shared a laugh, but Rachel's mind kept wandering back to that man. He moved with authority, confidence radiating from him. It was captivating, unlike anything she had seen before. Do you think he'll still be around when we leave? She asked, half serious, half joking. Jack raised an eyebrow. Rachel, do you want to chase after him? You hardly know anything about him. I know. But it's just different. I feel this urge to know more. Just be careful, Jack's tone softened. You're on a new path here. The words echoed in Rachel's mind as they finished their coffees and headed for the door. As they stepped back into the bustling world outside, she couldn't shake the feeling of what had just happened. Okay, she announced, shaking off the distraction. Back to the topic at hand. Let's nail down the details for my first meeting. I want something impactful. They began brainstorming again, milestones, potential speakers, and community opportunities. Ideas flew out of Rachel like fireworks, each one sparking excitement. There was something powerful about this process, empowering her even more. But the moment they stepped away from the coffee shop, a sudden buzz interrupted her thoughts. An alert from her phone. It was her sister again, this time with a picture of their father, smiling through the hospital room, the kind of smile that seemed fragile yet full of fight. Rachel's heart clenched. Each picture told a story of its own, but that smile chased away all doubts. This is why I need to do this, she murmured to herself. Everything okay? Jack asked, noticing her silence. Yeah, she replied, shaking her head slightly. No, not really. Her voice trailed off as she looked up toward the street, and there he was again, the man from the coffee shop, standing on the corner. Do you actually know him? Jack asked, catching her gaze flick back. I don't, but it's like fate is pushing me toward him. I really feel it. Jack looked skeptical but intrigued. You think he might have anything to do with your project? Who knows, maybe he's the key to kickstarting everything. Rachel's pulse quickened, and she hesitated. Was it really that simple? What if I just talked to him? Before she could second-guess herself, she directed her steps toward the street. Jack hot on her heels, wearing an expression that mixed encouragement and skepticism. Wait, are you really going to talk to him? Jack whispered, trying to keep his voice low as they approached. Rachel nodded, determination shining in her eyes. I need to know more. What if he could help me? Or share his story? It could be the inspiration I need. As they drew closer, the man's gaze moved past people until it landed on her. A faint smile played at his lips, and in that moment, Rachel felt a blend of nerves and electric anticipation. Hello, she managed to say. I know we don't know each other, but before she could finish, his deep, warm voice interrupted her. I couldn't help but notice you from across the street. You seemed alive with purpose. Rachel hesitated, her heart pounding. This was her chance, a moment teetering between fear and possibility. What was it about his presence that stirred something within her? Maybe, she said, gathering her courage. But I could use some direction. Maybe I'm looking for someone to help guide me. With that, Rachel took a breath, sensing the stirring of change. What did this encounter hold? Would he see the potential in her project or dismiss her entirely? The wheels of her life were spinning faster than she could keep up with, and she could only wonder what would come next. Rachel found herself drawn into a world of unknowns, but as she stood there looking into those captivating eyes, one truth rang clear. Sometimes, fate likes to be whispered, just beyond the horizon of comfort. What deeper connection awaited her in this unexpected moment? Rachel's breath hitched as she held his gaze, a warmth radiating from the stranger that nearly stole her words away. He seemed to see right through her, the fears, the ambitions, the hopes tied to her father's smile. It was as if he could feel the weight of her purpose. I'm Jake, he said, letting the name fall softly between them, a lighthouse in the fog of uncertainty. And you're Rachel, right? The one with the project. Her heart thudded louder at the mention of her name. You know me? I've been observing the passion in your eyes as you talk about it. I couldn't help but be intrigued. So, what's your project about? His voice was a melody, soothing yet filled with excitement. Rachel swallowed hard. This was at the moment she had unknowingly wanted. I'm organizing a community event focused on resilience, she confessed, her voice steadying with the rhythm of his encouragement. Something that brings people together and shares stories of hope. I want to inspire others, and I need guidance on how to make it impactful. Jake nodded, his expression curious and attentive. What's your vision for it? She instinctively brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. I want to feature local heroes, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The stories of those who faced adversity but kept pushing forward like my dad. At the mention of her father, a flicker of empathy danced in his eyes. I understand what it means to fight for family, he said, his tone deepening. My history is filled with such battles. In that moment, Rachel felt a connection that was deeper than mere chance. You get it, she whispered, her heart fluttering like a trapped bird but also filling with hope. Maybe I can help you, he offered, his voice warm like a sunbeam cutting through the chill. I have resources and connections that could support your project. Wait, Rachel said, a mix of exhilaration and caution flickering through her. You'd really want to do that? Just like that? Jake smiled. I believe in the power of stories. Especially the ones that inspire and motivate. It's something I'm passionate about. Suddenly, the bustling street around her faded into background noise. Here stood someone who seemed to understand her mission, someone whose presence felt both calming and exciting. Rachel could hardly process all the emotions swirling within her: hope, fear, a dash of disbelief. Jack stood a few steps back, watching with an expression Rachel couldn't decipher. Was he concerned, supportive, or a bit of both? She wanted to turn back to him, to ensure he was okay with the sudden turn her day was taking, but she couldn't pull her gaze from Jake. I would love that, she finally said, her mind racing. But how can we start? I mean, what do we do next? Jake chuckled softly, a sound that wrapped around her like a warm embrace. Let us not rush. Tell me more about your vision, let us sculpt it into something tangible. How about over dinner sometime this week? The suggestion hung in the air, thick with potential. Her heart quickened at the thought of sharing a meal, opening up to the man who had appeared out of nowhere at a time when she needed direction the most. But a shiver of doubt crept in, the part of her that wondered if this was too good to be true. I don't want to take advantage of your generosity, she said quietly, still processing the warmth of his gaze. Rachel, it's not about that. It's about collaboration. I can see the fire in you, and I want to help you fan those flames. We're all here to grow, right? She forced herself to nod, her mind wrestling with possibility. Could this man really want to help her? What was his true story behind those captivating eyes? I'd like that, she replied at last, a spark of anticipation lighting her heart. But I have to ask, what's your story? Jake's smile deepened, a blend of something mysterious and alluring. Let us just say, it's a journey filled with lessons learned. But I promise, you'll find it heartwarming. Rachel swallowed hard, a sense of adventure brewing. Did she really want to dive deeper into the unknown? But something told her this was the beginning of a chapter she wouldn't want to miss. As the moment hung between them, a swirl of hope and anxious excitement filled her thoughts. What story did Jake have that could mirror her own, and what truths awaited them both? Rachel took a deep breath, bracing herself for what may come next, feeling the unmistakable pull of fate guiding her onward. Would she discover the heartwarming truth that awaited her in his world? The week unfolded in a blur of anticipation. Rachel barely had time to breathe as thoughts of their upcoming dinner danced in her mind. Every moment spent preparing felt like a step toward a new beginning. The hope she had grasped when meeting Jake felt real, almost like a spark ignited within her. Finally, the day arrived. She chose her outfit carefully, wanting to feel confident but still true to herself. Standing in front of the mirror, she practiced her smile, hoping to mask the nerves bubbling inside. She didn't want her insecurity to tarnish the connection they had begun to forge. When they met at the restaurant, Rachel's heart raced at the sight of Jake. He looked effortlessly charming, wearing a casual but stylish outfit that complemented his confident demeanor. There was something warm about the way he smiled, and as they exchanged greetings, it felt like stepping into a fresh chapter of a beautiful story. They sat at a cozy corner table, soft lighting casting a golden glow around them. The hum of conversation and the clinking of dishes faded as they locked eyes. It was almost as if this little bubble had been created just for them. I'm glad we made this happen, Jake said, his voice a blend of excitement and sincerity. Me too, Rachel replied, feeling her fingers tingle as they grazed the edge of her glass. Thank you for believing in me. He leaned in slightly, genuine interest lighting up his features. "Tell me more about your community event. What are your biggest hopes for it?" Rachel took a deep breath, her heart beating fast, as she shared her vision. She painted vivid pictures of families gathering, stories being shared, laughter mixing with tears of resilience. Every word felt like an offering, a glimpse into the fire that burned within her. Jake listened intently, nodding and asking probing questions. The ease of their conversation made Rachel feel as though she could reach for the stars. Jake's enthusiasm was infectious. "You have something special here, Rachel," he said finally, glancing down at the menu. "Your passion for this project could truly change lives." As they ordered their meals, Rachel couldn't shake a growing curiosity. "You mentioned you have a story. What's it about?" Jake paused, his expression shifting to one of contemplation. "It's not as glamorous as you might think," he chuckled lightly. "I grew up in a small town. My family struggled to make ends meet. We faced our own hurdles, financial and emotional. I watched my mom work multiple jobs, and it taught me resilience." His words struck a chord. She could see the determination in his eyes, a mirror to her own struggles and aspirations. "What changed for you?" Rachel asked, fascinated. "Opportunity. I got a scholarship for my education, and it altered the course of my life. I promised myself to give back, to create opportunities for others. That's why I want to help you," he revealed, his voice rich with conviction. Rachel felt her heart swell. Could they really build something powerful together? The weight of his story bared a glimpse of his character, illuminating the paths that had shaped him. "You turned your struggles into something beautiful," she whispered, admiring the raw honesty he displayed. "Every challenge can lead to growth," he said, as if echoing her own thoughts. "You're starting a journey, too. Your event will inspire others just like my struggles inspired me." As they exchanged stories, Rachel began to feel an unspoken bond forming, a shared understanding of the importance of lifting others up. They talked, laughed, and traded ideas like old friends. The moments felt comforting, each second woven with the promise of connection, but just as she felt the walls guarding her heart begin to melt, Jake's phone buzzed on the table, slicing through the warmth of their evening. The sudden tension made her chest tighten. He glanced at it, a shadow crossing his face. "Excuse me," he said, his voice suddenly serious. "I need to take this." Rachel nodded, confusion clouding her thoughts as Jake stepped away to take the call. The moment shifted, and she couldn't help but wonder if the truth that brought them together would also be the very thing that pulled them apart. While she waited, her mind raced. What if his life was more complicated than it appeared? Could he really commit to helping her when he might have a million things on his plate? As she contemplated the questions swirling in her head, her heart felt heavy, a sinkhole of doubt dragging her down. Jake returned, the warmth in his eyes seemingly dimmed. "Sorry about that," he said, forcing a smile. "Just some pressing family matters. Nothing to worry about." But Rachel couldn't shake the fleeting look of concern that had crossed his face. What else lay behind Jake's charming exterior? A shiver of apprehension filled the air between them as she hesitated before voice her thoughts. "You know, honesty is important." But before she could continue, the door swung open and a figure walked in, one that made Rachel's heart skip a beat. Maybe the truth about Jake was about to unravel in a way she never imagined. Rachel's gaze snapped to the door, her heart racing as she recognized the figure stepping into the restaurant. It was Claire, her childhood friend, someone she hadn't seen in years. The sudden rush of emotions caught her off guard. Memories of laughter, secrets, and shared dreams flooded her mind. But there was something else, too, a wave of anxiety at what this reunion might mean in her unfolding story with Jake. "Claire?" Rachel whispered, disbelief etching itself on her face. Claire had always been the adventurous one, living a life full of risks and successes, qualities that left a mark on Rachel's own ambitions. Would this unexpected meeting disrupt the chemistry she and Jake were building? Claire took a few steps forward, her eyes widening in recognition. "Rachel." "Wow, it's been too long," she said, rushing over. They embraced tightly, filling the air with warmth and nostalgia. As they pulled away, Rachel was acutely aware of Jake's presence beside her, watching, assessing. "Can't believe you're here," Rachel exclaimed, fighting to keep her composure. "How have you been?" "Oh, you know me. Just jetting around the world and catching opportunities wherever I can," Claire laughed lightly. "I just returned from a conference about sustainable businesses. How's everything with you?" Rachel opened her mouth to share her latest adventures and the upcoming community event that had ignited her passion, but suddenly, a flash of uncertainty gripped her. What if this was the moment that changed everything? What if Claire had news that would shift the dynamics with Jake? Jake cleared his throat, his easy demeanor shifted ever so slightly. "Hi, I'm Jake," he said, extending his hand toward Claire. "I just met Rachel tonight. She's got some incredible ideas for a community project." Claire looked between them, a knowing smile creeping onto her face. "Oh really?" Rachel always had a knack for inspiring others, she said, her tone warm yet perceptive. Rachel felt the heat rise in her cheeks as she shifted in her seat. How much did Claire understand about her connection with Jake? Would she see the potential there? Would her friend's presence pull Jake away from her just when she felt the winds of change blowing in her direction? "It's not just about ideas. It's about real change," Rachel said, injecting enthusiasm into her voice to mask her nerves. "I want to create a space for people to connect and heal. It's important to me." Claire's eyes sparkled with interest. "That sounds amazing. I'd love to help, if you'd let me," she replied, her commitment genuine but layered with unspoken competition. Rachel looked at Jake for confirmation, hoping he'd affirm their partnership. But instead, she found him studying Claire with a curious tilt of his head, and suddenly her heart felt heavy. "Let us collaborate," Claire said, her enthusiasm infectious. "We could bring in the community and make a real impact. You know, together we can attract more attention and resources." Jake nodded slowly, his thoughtful expression making Rachel's heart sink. Was he seeing what she saw? Could this be a good thing, or was it the beginning of complications she wasn't prepared for? As they discussed ideas, Rachel fought to keep up the facade of confidence. She tried to focus on Claire's words, letting them wash over her while her mind circled back to the moment Jake stepped away. What was really bothering him? His concern from earlier was still like a shadow over their evening. Would he want to work with Claire instead? Then, just as uncertainty began to loom, Jake broke in unexpectedly. "The truth is, I want to support both of you," he said, with an earnestness that struck Rachel like a jolt. "But we can only move forward if we all trust one another." Rachel's heart fluttered. Trust? Did he mean that directed at her? And yet, something in his voice felt heavy, an underlying weight that didn't escape her notice. Just then, the door swung open again, and a second figure walked in, this one looking even more familiar, and perhaps even more alarming. "Rachel!" Claire exclaimed, her surprise palpable as the newcomer stepped into the cozy restaurant. "Oh no, this can't be happening." Suddenly, Rachel felt the ground beneath her shift. What could this new revelation mean for her evening, and for everything she thought she had begun to build? The possibilities of this night were twisting in directions she never anticipated. Rachel's heart raced as she turned to face the newcomer, a mix of excitement and dread washing over her. It was Hannah, her old classmate and a figure from her past that stirred up memories Rachel had buried deep. Hannah had an air of confidence she always did, like she knew exactly where she was going. "Hannah?" Rachel barely managed to breathe, her voice a mix of disbelief and concern. "Wow, this is a shock." Hannah grinned, her eyes darting between Rachel and Claire. "Didn't he expect to run into either of you here?" Claire, who was visibly flustered, quickly composed herself. "Hey, Hannah. It's been ages. What are you up to?" Rachel felt a familiar knot tighten in her stomach, a sense of competition simmering just below the surface. Hannah had always been the kind of person who other people gravitated toward, charismatic, charming, with dreams that seemed to stretch beyond the stars. And now, here she was, bringing an unexpected twist to an already complicated evening. "Just came back from a real estate venture," Hannah said breezily, Things were going well, but let's talk about the more interesting stuff. Rachel, I heard you're involved in some community work. What's that all about? Rachel took a deep breath, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm working on a project aimed at bringing people together, creating a safe space for healing and connection in the community. Sounds noble, Hannah replied, the hint of a challenge in her voice. But it takes more than just heart to make that happen. You need resources, influence. Rachel felt the heat rise again, her insecurities bubbling to the surface. Hadn't they just talked about trust? What if Hannah's insight into resources and influence wasn't simply an observation but a dig? Still, she pushed back. True change starts with people willing to put in the work. That's what I believe. Jake watched quietly, his brow furrowed as if he were attempting to understand the growing tension. Rachel glanced at him, hoping his gaze would provide some reassurance. Yet, he remained focused on the interaction, his lips pressed into a thin line. I'd love to help. Claire chimed in, her enthusiasm aimed partly at Rachel, but also at Hannah. The collaboration could really take off if we work together. Rachel winced at the implicit challenge in that suggestion. Right, together, she echoed, each syllable carrying a weight that felt heavier than the last. Isn't that the essence of community work? Hannah interjected, her tone edged with playful sarcasm. Working together, pooling resources, drawing from each other's strengths. The air thickened with unspoken tension, and suddenly Rachel felt adrift, the potential for convergence spiraling into contention. This wasn't just about her project anymore. It felt like every friendship and unspoken rivalry from her past was compressing into this single moment. You all talk a big game, came a voice suddenly from the back of the restaurant. They all turned to see a middle-aged man with a real estate badge on his chest sauntering over. But how many of you can actually deliver on those dreams? Community projects need more than good intentions. Rachel's stomach knotted, and she glanced at Jake again, searching for the support she desperately needed. His clear blue eyes were suddenly darkened with concern, his thoughts clearly swirling. Maybe we should just get to know each other better first, Jake suggested lightly, but the hesitance in his voice didn't go unnoticed. Rachel felt a wave of panic flash through her. Could this night unravel everything she had hoped for? Was she losing control of her dreams before they even had the chance to sprout? Just as she was about to say something, Hannah shot a look toward the newcomer, her smile fading. We'll see about that, she replied coolly, and Rachel caught an edge of rivalry in her eyes. As the conversation drifted into awkward silence, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing on a precipice. What did this unexpected gathering mean for her plans? Were jealousy and rivalry already clouding their aspirations? The possibilities swirled around her head like autumn leaves caught in a whirl. And just as she considered her next move, Jake placed a hand on the table, leaning toward her and whispering, Rachel, wait. There's something you need to know. Her breath caught in her throat. What could he possibly reveal that might change everything again? Rachel's heart thudded loudly in her chest, a mix of fear and curiosity. Jake's tone was serious, urgent even, and she felt a rush of tension in the air. Was it possible that the chaos around them could be connected to whatever Jake was about to say? Hurry up, she whispered back, trying to keep her voice steady, but the tremor betrayed her anxious heart. Jake glanced around, ensuring no one else was listening, and then leaned closer. You remember how I told you I had some business dealings that didn't go as planned? His tone was low, as if uttering the words too loudly might invite trouble. Rachel nodded, trying to recall the specifics. Yeah, what about it? It's tied to Hannah. He hesitated, measuring his words carefully. She's involved with some people in the real estate world who aren't exactly reputable. I've heard whispers that she's not just selling properties. There's something bigger at play. The weight of his disclosure sank heavily into Rachel's chest. She had sensed the competitive spirit in Hannah, but this was different. If Jake was right, Hannah might be playing a game far more complicated than anyone realized. Bigger how? Rachel asked, her mind racing. She could feel tension tightening around her as she wondered what Jake's words meant for her community project. Jake scratched the back of his neck, his worry intensifying. I think she might be using your project as a cover to gain leverage. If she can attach herself to people like us, she can manipulate situations to her advantage. It's risky, Rachel. You need to be careful. Rachel's mind spun. This was the last thing she needed. What if this evening hadn't just been a chance encounter? What if Hannah's intentions were to sabotage everything she had worked for? I have to confront her, Rachel said, a surge of determination pushing her forward. She felt empowered by Jake's warning but also terrified. If Hannah was as cunning as she suspected, would Rachel be able to hold her ground? But Jake's hand shot out to stop her. Wait. Confronting her might not be the best approach. We need to gather more information first. Let's South keep our cards close until we know the whole story. Rachel felt frustration bubble inside her. The evening that had started with promise now felt heavy with distrust. I can't just sit back and wait. My project means everything to me. I won't let anyone jeopardize it. As she spoke, Hannah caught their eye and raised an eyebrow, a smirk dancing on her lips. Rachel felt the challenge of their unspoken rivalry seep back into the air, and she clenched her fists in response. Just be smart, Jake urged quietly, his eyes softening. Trust your instincts. But if something doesn't feel right, let us work together as a team. Rachel took a deep breath, grappling with the intensity of emotions swirling inside her. It was like standing on a tightrope, balancing between fear and hope. She wanted to move forward, but now necessary caution and a strong strategy felt vital. And then, just as she mulled over her route of action, the restaurant's door swung open, and a tall figure stepped through. Rachel's heart skipped, recognizing him instantly. It was Caleb, one of the influential figures in town, and he looked directly at her, a knowing glimmer in his eyes. Rachel, he called out, striding toward their table. We need to talk, now. Panic washed over her anew. What could Caleb possibly have to say that would change everything once more? Rachel's heart raced as Caleb approached, the conversation around her fading into an indistinct murmur. She felt the weight of expectation settle on her shoulders. Jake's eyes widened with curiosity, while Claire and Hannah traded glances, their expressions a mix of intrigue and confusion. Caleb, Rachel breathed, urgency laced into her tone. What is going on? She instinctively leaned in, wanting to hear whatever news he had without drawing more attention from others. There's a lot at stake, Rachel, Caleb said, his voice low and serious. I've been hearing whispers about your community event. It's something worth supporting, but he hesitated as he looked around, calculating his words carefully. Jack placed himself between Rachel and the gathering storm. What do you mean, but? He asked, crossing his arms defensively. Caleb's gaze shifted, landing on Jake for a moment before returning to Rachel. It's not just a community event anymore. It's drawing unwanted attention. People want to know who's behind it, and what strings they can pull. Questions swirled in Rachel's mind. Okay, who's after it? Caleb frowned, his expression darkening. Let's just say there are individuals who thrive on taking advantage of goodwill. If you're not careful, you might get pulled into something far more tumultuous than you anticipated, especially with Hannah around. Rachel felt panic creep in, tightening its grip around her chest. After everything she had built up until now, was this going to be another hurdle in her journey? An echo of doubt lingered in her mind, but there was also a shift within her. She was no longer the same uncertain woman she had been just a day before. Tell me what to do, she said, her resolve hardening. I'm not backing down, but I need to ensure my vision is safe. Caleb nodded, appreciating her tenacity. You need to surround yourself with smart allies. Keep your plans close to your chest and don't let anyone use your vulnerabilities against you. Let us regroup and discuss the next steps strategically. Agreed, Jake chimed in, determination sparking in his eyes. Rachel, you're never alone in this. We'll form a solid plan and protect what you're building. But we also have to deal with Hannah, Jack chimed in, glancing back at her, who was visibly struggling to keep her expression neutral. We shouldn't give her an opportunity to exploit any weaknesses. In that moment, something clicked for Rachel. The chaos from the evening. Claire, Hannah, Jake, Caleb felt like pieces of a puzzle that could either come together or fall apart. It was time to reclaim her narrative, to stand confidently in the space she had carved out. Rachel took a deep breath and straightened her back, looking around at her friends. I appreciate your support, everyone. But it's vital we move forward with actionable steps and work together. Our project is rooted in lifting others up, not dividing. If something feels off with any of our collaborators, we'll tackle it like a united front. As she spoke, a sense of clarity washed over her. She envisioned supporters pouring into her project, sharing stories of resilience and triumph. Together, we'll harness these connections. Let us brainstorm right now about our first community meeting. The fire in her eyes reflected the hope she had to keep igniting in others. The burgeoning energy of their small group felt magnetic, a force building off the love for their community and each other. Caleb nodded in encouragement, a glimmer of pride in his demeanor. Let us rally our circles and create a coalition of resilient hearts to outshine any shadows. With renewed purpose, Rachel felt her doubts lift. Ideas flowed, voices mingled, suggestions bounced back and forth as they dove deep into creating their first meeting, a safe space where stories could be shared without worry or judgment. Maybe we could hold the first meeting at a local community center, Jack suggested. That way we can make it accessible for everyone. What about inviting local influencers? Claire interjected, her competitive edge softened by camaraderie. They can help us spread the word and pull more people in. As they brainstormed, the atmosphere shifted from urgency to excitement. Laughter intertwined with the dialogues, ideas sparking tangibly in their space. And there, amidst the whirlwind of voices, Rachel understood that she was on the brink of something transformative. Across the table, Jake's keen gaze bore witness to her evolution. The layers of uncertainty that had once shrouded her now peeled away, revealing the strong woman she was always meant to be. When Rachel finally caught his eye again, she noticed something new, a warmth mixed with admiration that made her heart skip. The connection she felt, deeper than shared goals, nourished the flame of possibility flickering between them. Maybe there was more than just an event blossoming. They were creating a movement rooted in trust, resilience, and transformation. Just as they wrapped up their plans, Rachel's phone buzzed one last time. It was a message from her sister, an encouraging note about their father's progress. Tears of joy brimmed in her eyes. He was showing signs of improvement. The weight of fear that had once shackled her heart lifted, and for the first time, she could see a clear path forward. Everything is falling into place, isn't it? Jack said, catching her reflective gaze. This is just the beginning. Yes. Rachel exclaimed, a radiant smile spreading across her face. It really is. As the laughter surrounded them, Rachel realized that she was not just stepping into leadership but stepping into herself. Her heart swelled with a combination of hope and purpose. She was ready to face whatever came next, and through it all, she held on to the unwavering belief that transformations can ripple outward, brightening the stories of those who need it most. Together, they would forge a brand new path, not just for themselves but for everyone looking for a glimmer of hope. Let us kick this off. Rachel called out, laughter and excitement echoing around their table. At that moment, she embraced the whirlwind of connections, fully aware that this was her new beginning. What awaited Rachel, Jake, and their team was a journey bursting with uncertainties, but inside she felt equipped to face whatever would come, fueled by the fire of shared purpose, support, and unwavering connection. This was her moment to shine. And the world was waiting. Hey, if you loved this exhilarating journey of transformation, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to hit that button, or you'll miss our next exclusive stories that inspire change and ignite hope. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support this beautiful community. Comment your reactions and feelings about Rachel's journey and this incredible ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Join us in building a movement, together.